In general terms, use all these to provide solution, because a programmer is expected to be a solution provider. You put things in place that makes it easy for others to use this thing effectively when they want to come and use it. So that's what being a programmer entails when it comes to computing. Then when we now say how many programming language should a programmer know? Uh well, there is one thing I would like to say, and that one is that whatever thing it is we find ourselves doing in any area, in any ramification of life, what we need to do is that we actually need to use what we have to do what we can. Now, if I'm to mention programming languages, I'll be mentioning programming languages like Java, JavaScript, Python, Golang, uh, Rust, R itself is also another programming language. Like there are tons of programming languages that I can just be like, go on and on and on and on and on and on to mention. Now, aside from programming language, there are things that are known as frameworks. Now, that's another nightmare. Okay, don't let me use nightmare. That's another dilemma on its own, because when it comes down to framework, despite the fact that we have tons of what's it called, tons of programming language. Under each of those programming language, there are also tons of framework that exist under them. So most of the time, it can actually be a challenge that okay, oh, now I've decided that I want to stick to this particular language. Now, which framework do I even use among all these numerous frameworks? But the thing is that wherever you are, whatever you are doing, just make sure that you use what you have to do what you can do. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that it is not necessary. It is not necessary for you to be a tech polyglot. And when I say tech polyglot, I mean someone that is vast in many programming languages. Although it has its own pros and cons in that it exposes you to more job opportunities. It makes you available for different for different should I say opportunities for you to take on different jobs at different places, because you are not limited to JavaScript alone, you are not limited to Java alone, you can also do PHP, you can also write Python, you can also do your data analysis with R programming language, or just build some machine learning model with Python, and you're up and running and good to go. But then one thing we should also note is the fact that it is actually better to pick a language and be very, very good at it than to dive into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 languages and not just be able to write ordinary hello world in any of those. Hey, so it's actually better to pick a language and focus on it. There's nothing bad in being a tech polyglot, someone that knows a lot of programming language. There's nothing bad in that. But it is actually better to be very, very good at one than to actually know many and not even be good at one. I can say, okay, they will tap you in the middle of the night and say, how do I start this Java application? You will not be able to just tell them that, okay, go and make sure that your programming has a static main void function that you have as your entry point to your application, and you'll be up and running. No, it's going to be a waste of time, energy, and resources when you go into so many things without actually grabbing anything. The beauty of programming and programming language is that once you master a particular programming language, all other programming languages becomes quite easy for you to handle and for you to move around with, because all of them revolves around almost the same concept. The differences between this language is in their speed, their processing power, and the way they handle heavy data. You know, I can tell you that despite the fact that you can use your Python for artificial intelligence, there is also TensorFlow.js, which is something you can also use for artificial intelligence in JavaScript. But you cannot undo large data that Python will undo with JavaScript. That's where you have to put into consideration your processing power, your speed, your what's it called? All in all, the efficiency of the algorithm, which boils down to big O notation. I don't want to be using big grammars that will sound too complex. But all in all, as a programmer, the main thing is that you need to be good at what you do. Let people know you for a certain thing. Let people know that, okay, when people come to you for this thing, you'll be good in it. There's nothing bad in being an HTML programmer. When people ask me that, okay, Ogolu, who are you and what do you do? Well, it might actually seem as if I'm joking or whining, as it's usually no. But one thing I usually tell people is that I am an HTML programmer. The thing being that there is nothing you come to me with about HTML that I will not be able to handle. That I'm very certain. So I call myself an HTML programmer. That does not mean HTML is a programming language, please. HTML is not
I
serious.
was guessing as much too.
In knowing, there's nothing bad in knowing more than one programming language, but just make sure that there is something that people know. Else they say, if you have anything with anything about JavaScript, go and meet our deputy lead. If you need anything about Java and PHP, go and meet my president. If you need anything about what's it called, about PHP, Laravel, go and meet our software director. Like you should make sure that whatever you do, you are known for certain things, and you know that okay, oh, this guy is actually good with this thing, and okay, no matter what happens, you know that okay, we can reference this guy. And if at all a job comes up and they're like saying, who do we need for this thing, who do we need for that, then people will be able to say, oh, I know this guy is good with so, he's the man for the job. That one is actually better than for people not to be able to pinpoint that you don't even know if he's doing JavaScript, if he's doing Java, if he's doing PHP. Like, it's just so confusing. I believe everybody understand the points that I'm trying to pass across in that aspect. So the key points there is that it's better to be known and be good in one aspect of a particular language than to actually dive into almost everything and not know anything. So that's bad. Is there a way to become a developer without coding? Okay. Before I proceed further, the difference between a developer and picking the front end, picking the back end, joining them together, turning it into a full application, taking a plugin from A, taking a plugin from B, mashing and mixing everything together. Most of the time, what the programmer wants to do and wants to know is the fact that, okay, I'm writing a program that handles a plugin that does a particular thing. Probably it just handles the checkout stage in a particular e-commerce application. So then the programmer did something and it was okay. Now the programmer can now come back and say, okay, let me do this thing like this. Let me see if it's going to work. So the programmer is kind of like, should I say, someone that does more research and development than the developer. But the developer uses the tool of a programmer better than the programmer themselves. Because most of the time, I've actually like developed something and like, okay, this thing can do this can do that. But then the person that wants to use it now say, okay, other than the fact that this thing can do these things, I can also see the possibility and the avenue for this thing to also perform another function other than what you told me it is doing. So this like diversifying and exploring all other possibilities. So then this brings me down to the question that is there a way to become a developer without coding? You can become a developer, you can become a programmer without coding. And one thing you should know about programmer is that, see, for a developer might be comfortable with the fact that he has to do some task, some repetitive task repeatedly over and over again. But a programmer might not be comfortable with that. The programmer would actually find it like more better to automate that task than for him to be doing it manually. That's another difference between a programmer and a developer. So now it is very, very easy for you to become a developer, to become a what's it called? A programmer without coding. When I say without coding, that does not mean that you actually do without knowing some of these things and understanding a little bit. Because if you don't, you would actually like find yourself in a situation that will be very, very precarious. And you might not understand what to do, how to move forward from here, and what to know how to debug the errors that you are having. There are some couple of tools known as no code tools. All right, we are still going to get to the question and answer section. So I would very much appreciate it if you can just
OJ,
note
let me
down the
jump
question.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So yeah, as I was saying, there are some couple of tools known as no-code tools, and these tools are actually tools that all you have to deal with is the graphic user interface, and not just all those black and blue and red screen of your editor in which you have to be typing words that you don't even understand or have an inclination of what it does. But all you have to do is just deal with buttons and everything. You press this and you see the response. You do this and you see the response. So they are known as no code tools. You can just use them as drag and drops to build up websites. There are editors that you can use to drag stuff and drop them where you want it to be, and you see it as you are doing it. They are called what you see is what you see is what you get. We see it. So as you are performing this action, you are seeing the response directly. So these tools, they are known as no code tools. And if I'm to give an example, we have WordPress. You can actually develop WordPress app without actually coding. So there are a lot of plugins out there for you to rely on and everything. Uh, Another one is also called Bubble. Bubble, I don't know if anybody has heard of Bubble before, but Bubble is a way in which you can actually build a web application without having to code. So you just use their no code platform to build almost ready made application, and the community is quite huge. I think officially there are like more than 1 million people that are using Bubbles today. And I don't know if you understand what that one means. That means that if you want to get started with developing without coding today and you want to use Bubble, you should also know that there are 1 million people that have started already. And if you face a particular problem, the very first thing you should ask yourself is that, so this problem that I'm facing, am I the first person to face it in the midst of 1 million people? The chances are very um yeah, I think I will be dropping uh right. I think I'll be dropping the link in. Okay, I don't know. I don't know how many people are familiar with Slack. Slack is some sort of uh, collaboration channel. So there is this community of no code tools on Slack. I'll be dropping the link to join the community on this Google Meet section. So occasionally there are events that they organize and they arrange, and where is this chat box? So this slash no code Niger. So that's the no code Nigerian community. If you wish to join this community on Slack, so the community actually like tries to increase the awareness of how you can speed up development, web, mobile, Android development without having to what's it called? Without having to go down to writing codes, and which can be very very tedious. So they have tools that are already built that you can actually make use of as a developer, and speed up your development process. So I've made mention of Bubble, I've made mention of WordPress. They are wonderful no code tools that you can actually use to enhance your development and build up stuff. And before you know it, without having to press or write any codes, they are up and running. When it comes to mobile too, there are some couple of tools out there that you can actually use to build Android and iOS application without having to go to code editor. Although there are limitations to using no code tools comparing to writing code. So the limitations there is that you might want to deal with some native components that in which the plugins are not built yet. So as at that particular point, if the solution that you are looking forward to building requires some sort of native capability, probably you need to do something that has to communicate with the Linux OS. If you are writing on Android is Linux, or probably whatever it is, you want to communicate with some sort of native API. And unfortunately, there is no should I say, there is no plugin ready for you that you can use in your no code tools. The challenge there is that you're not able to develop that feature unless you find a way to integrate your native code inside your no code tools. So that's the challenge there. So if you actually don't know anything about writing code, at that point you'll be stuck. But that does not mean you cannot develop stuff. I mean, not just any stuff. I mean, groundbreaking, mouth-watering solutions and applications, even without writing code. So that's that about that. It is very, very possible for you to find. Now, as a way to know coding, well, let me be very, very frank and sincere with you. And I'll be saying this from experience. As a computer science student, as an information technology student that is under the curriculum of the education system in Nigeria, it is very, very compulsory for you to know how to code. The reason why is that, okay, like I said I will be saying this from experience. Uh, I just finished 300 level for semester, and I can say I have some couple of experience when it comes to computer science as a course in National Open University. And by the should I say virtue of my contribution in open source community and some other developers community, I've been opportuned to communicate and speak and have interaction with students of computer science students, information technology students, software engineering students from all other institutions across the federation. And what I can tell you is that even though they are going to start with some petty theoretical things with you from the beginning, but by the time you start entering 3, 4, 500 level and above, you start seeing some dangerous codes in your curriculum. And the should I say downside of it is that I think it is only few that I've actually known who has incorporated Python into their curriculum. Most of these institutions will be teaching you Java, teaching you C++, C Sharp, probably see some COBOL and Fortran code that you have to deal with. So, and then is, if you don't know how to code, and if you don't know anything about coding, it's going to be very, very challenging to take that theory that we are looking at and put it into practice. Because whether you like it or not, I believe my ogas in the building can actually attest to this and testify and say, okay, oh, what I'm telling you is not just that that I'm bluffing. Because just concluded POV that I did, I can tell you that I use my own hand, my own finger to write Java codes and C sharp code inside the exam hall. So the thing is that if you don't know this thing, it is one thing for you to say you are going to read them. It's another thing for you to say you'll be able to write that code as you read in your material. Code is not something you take as something you do part time. So coding is something you dedicate. Let me say your life, your time, your attention. Don't let me put your time, your attention, almost everything you dedicate into it. It's not something you pick today, you live for like 2-3 months, then you say you are coming back to do it. No, it does not work that way. Something you put your time and attention to, something you do every now and then, so much that it becomes a part and parcel of you. So in such a by so doing, it makes it easy for you to even pick up your pen and draft up pseudo codes and flowcharts without even have to like think of how do I do this, how do I do that. Although there will be times and situations that you'll be faced with how do I proceed from here? So then you go to Google search, you do some research, and it's okay, this is the next thing for me to do. But as a computer science student, it is necessary, it is needed for you to know how to code. And as far as now curriculum is concerned, you need to know Java. Because Java is something that I've seen in my 300 level first semester. I'm still seeing something that is looking like Java in second semester, and it seems it is not ending there. So God will help us, and God will do it. But as a computer science student, as an information technology student, even if you are doing, there are some couple of education students that are doing computer science education, and some mathematics students that are doing computer science maths. As much as you see computer science or information technology in your course, and you have any reason to be doing any CIT course in your 300 level and above, one way or the other, you are still going to experience writing code. And it is very, very good that you know how to do it so that it will not become a challenge when you face things like this in what's it called? When you face things like this in the exam hall and everything. And as we know, our curriculum is not that encouraging. The study, the materials is not even, it's nothing to write home about. So You just have to put in the extra work by yourself and make sure that you understand these things. Then I think that will be everything I will be talking about this evening, if I'm not wrong. So, but moving forward from here, before I go down to answering our question, I just want to go over the points that I have with me that I've highlighted to make sure that I'm not missing out anything. All right. Oh, okay. I think there is something here. Oh. The life of a techie, difference between JavaScript and jQuery. Life programming. I will quickly run that one and sum it up. Um, JavaScript is a programming language. jQuery is a library under JavaScript. Under JavaScript. So the major difference between JavaScript and jQuery is the fact that jQuery is JavaScript made simple. But it is very, very good for you to know and understand JavaScript before you start pushing forward to jQuery. It's just like saying JavaScript is the foundation. jQuery is like all the finishing that you put into it to make things look easy and beautiful and appealing to the eyes. You know, if you don't prepare your foundation very well, the building might collapse. So that's why it is very, very necessary for you to have a solid foundation before you start dealing with frameworks and libraries. Then, life of a tech. Uh, okay, let me put it like this. I live the life of a tech, and ọmọ easy rara, but I'm a keep on mashing and go with the flow. So it's not easy. If I tell you that it is a road and it's a path that is filled with milk and honey and only the same. It is not easy, and for what it's worth, sometimes I wish I don't even know what I do, because uh, there is this belief that comes with ignorance, and at the same time, knowing some things can actually be very, very technical. Most especially what you do with what you know. When it comes to the life of the tech, it depends on how each and everybody deals with it. The general perspective is that tech guys, they always in front of their computer, they don't have any life, they don't have any social life, they don't interact, they don't mingle with people, they don't talk to people. Yeah, that's all well and good. The life of a tech can actually be very, very busy, very, very tough, very, very challenging, and just have to be dealing with bugs every now and then, dealing with most especially when you have a lot on your hand. You are doing this project, you are collaborating with this one, you are contributing to this one, you are doing that one, doing that. It can be very, very demanding. But the thing is, how you manage your own time is entirely up to you. How you manage and prioritize your stuff is entirely up to you. And if you don't know how to do that one, it's actually going to tell on you. Not just socially alone, also mentally and in all other earthwise, like all other aspects of earth. Don't know if you know this, but World Health Organization actually give the definition of health as a state of complete social, physical, and mental well-being. Not just the absence of any disease or infirmity. So there are things that you face in this ecosystem, in this industry, that's capable of affecting your mental health state. If you are not careful with how you deal with this, it can send you down a downward spiral space. So how you live your life is actually entirely up to you. What you choose to do with it as a tech is entirely up to you. I've seen people who debunk, like people who are, should I say, living witness to the fact that you can still be in bed and have your wonderful life, enjoy your life, in as much as you plan to over. So that's that about
we just
tech
finished
life. Then life beyond
we just finished the conference.
one thing we all should understand, most especially
Physical
everybody, whether you are just getting into there or you're is that other than
for
you
computer
and
science,
your
yes.
computer, there is something else outside those two. I can tell you that I can actually be
Yes, I
in
finished
front
it.
of this without actually
The what?
like, okay, if I have some couple of basic amenities like
The
water,
Fade F
food
that
or snacks,
TME.
junks close to me. Maybe the only thing that will make me stand up is me standing up in one. I've seen times that I've gone days without
No,
even
I think
sleeping,
they are working on it. The school have
and
said it. I talked to the HOD today.
I
He
can tell you
said
that the effect is not
he said the
it's not
database
that
that
it's
the
not that
telemetry data
palatable,
is
even
corrupt.
on the
So they are
body,
currently working on it. So
on the
let's just hope.
mental state. So, but one thing we should also all know is that there's
Everybody
life
score
beyond
F.
our computer and ourselves. Whatever
TMS
we
no,
do,
is it
try
F?
and
No,
go out a
zero
little bit,
zero. Everybody scores
socialize and
zero.
interact with people.
That was
Like,
the because
there
the
are
file
times that people that
get
I can probably
corrupted.
call and ask that, okay, how are you?
Exactly.
And so I said, okay,
Because
let
they
me use this
should
opportunity to
normally
just see
immediately you
what,
answer
let's
it.
see what's happening.
Everybody that every student that answer question. Yeah, yeah. TMS.
Beginning,
Okay,
when
1 minute.
most
I'm
of the
coming, sir.
things you are
1
doing
minute.
are just, you do this, you
Yes,
face one error, you do
I'm
that, you
coming.
face another error.
Okay, sir. Yes,
But
sorry.
probably when you are now getting to
Yes.
intermediate level where you can actually like when you start doing stuff that make you happy, you do stuff that you see the output, you see the products, it makes you agree with the fact that you are becoming better at what you do. Then there is this sort of euphoria. It's a pleasant feeling that comes with the knowledge that you are able to do something and you see the output and you are happy with yourself. See, this euphoria is so very, very guys that use Kali Linux actually do more of should I say uh, hands-on terminal approach towards cybersecurity or towards hacking, either ethical or unethical, compared to people that are doing it without coding. So if you want to like enter cybersecurity without coding, it is very, very possible. Don't ever it is very, very good for you to feel good, like feel good about what you develop, hype it, let people see it, let people know it. But don't feel too comfortable so much that you develop a comfort zone at a particular level. The thing is, okay, HTML started with ordinary HTML, then we have HTML4, we have HTML5. Now, for before I understood the relevance of HTML5, it was not until I start understanding the web APIs that are available in HTML5.
Network, network. Okay.
That's the beauty of this thing. The thing is that this whole programming of the thing, it is not static. It is very, very dynamic and it keeps on evolving. So by the time you get comfortable with any particular level, if care is not taken, you become redundant
But
at
you
a
just
particular
like
level.
let me just say this, like when I start as HTML is not a programming language, but I felt this starts with our females because they felt like coding is hard,
Okay.
coding is tough. When you are into programming, they thought like wow, you are doing this. Now let's start with most of our females that don't want to go in programming because they are afraid already. They start seeing code as one of these things that's very, very hard and tough. So I think when they start knowing HTML, they start feeling happy like, wow, I'm making something, I'm doing something. But is there something we can tell them if they, even if there's a limit language that they can know as a female, not like a guy that can know that HTML, that can know JavaScript, PHP, at least 3 to 4 languages. That is a male. But a female, what do you advise she to know? And what do you advise her rather?
Can I say something? Mind if I can say
Yeah, we are
something,
with you.
please? Well, as our boss has already said before, Mr. Mastercraft, he said languages in computer science are very dynamic, right? If you are static in one language, you are going to be outdated at one point because even the language you update, you bring a new version and you still be in the old version, right?